What's up again, everybody? The first Hall of Fame video was a huge success, and many of you responded with your picks for further Hall of Fame inductees. I counted up all of the nominations across the YouTube comments and various other forums of social media, consolidated the information, and we now have our second class of inductees into the Hall of Fame. Let's begin. The first card that we are going to induct into the Hall of Fame is Blue Eyes White Dragon. So if you are new to the game and you have not experienced or seen this card before, pay the most attention to the global ability. It says pay a bolt and KO a character, and in this case it means character die, to reduce the cost of the next character you buy by 2. This is a more powerful version of the Malekith global, and by more powerful I mean way more powerful. This global ability stacks, meaning that if you pay several bolts and KO multiple characters, then you can discount a highly costed character by 4 or 6. It makes 6 to 7 drops way more easy to get to, which in turn ups the playability of large drops in general. It also makes 6 to 7 drops with mediocre abilities much more likely to see play, as they're less of an investment to get to, and therefore the less than ideal ability, or just not powerful enough to see play on a 6 or 7 drop ability, now gets to enter the game because we're getting it for a discount. Without this global, a 6 or 7 drop really does need to have an above average ability, otherwise it's just too difficult to justify investing the ramp, the turn, and the bag control to get to it. This is what we saw in the meta before Ring of Winter came along and provided a much more tame version of this ability. This is sort of a Ring of Winter combined with Malekith global type of ability. And because Ring of Winter only affects characters 6 cost and above, we're now sort of experiencing this at the 5 drop slot. If a 5 drop doesn't have an impactful enough ability, it often just doesn't see play because Ring of Winter can't discount it and give it to you for cheaper, therefore justifying the less than amazing ability on it. While Blue Eyes was around, this just didn't happen. Blue Eyes just allowed all of these cards to see play. It was an amazing card that just opened up the meta and provided all cards with another level of playability. And for that reason, it earns its spot into the Hall of Fame. Next up is perhaps one of the most well-known and sought-after early control cards in the game. This is Constantine Hellblazer. This card was on every competitive team until it rotated out, and if it hadn't rotated, it would probably still be on every competitive team up until this point. Here we have a 2-cost control piece that just outpaces Shriek in a lot of ways. He can't be shut down by when fielded effects blockers. His target can switch every turn. He's a 2-drop with Shriek's stats. He's insane. The only thing that you can do to stop this card is remove him or blank him, and doing so means one less card on your team is blanked or removed. He does everything that you need a control piece to do, and oftentimes does it better than most control pieces in the game. He's so incredibly flexible and powerful, and he just came at this perfect time in the early meta, as without him, there were really no good ways of dealing with Sareena and Gabi. He 100% deserves a spot in the Dice Masters Hall of Fame. And last but definitely not least, we have perhaps the most nominated card in this round. This is a card that is near and dear to my heart, and I'd say it's tied for my favorite card in the entire game. This is Hulk Green Goliath. This is one of the most satisfying cards that I have ever played, and possibly one of the most frustrating cards to play against. Sareena is tough to combat in the early game, but if you can get out enough blockers and characters to spin down, eventually her damage abates. Gabi is contingent upon rolling sidekicks, and if you can remove sidekicks on your turn, then you can prevent some of that damage. Hulk, however, is just plain difficult to play around if you didn't bring the tools to stop him. For newer players, the goal with Hulk is to get him active in the field and then ping him with Magic Missile Global to wipe your opponent's board. Every time he takes damage, your opponent's characters either take 2 or 3 damage apiece. That's all well and good to do on your own turn, but the really oppressive part comes on your opponent's turn. After they've fielded all of their characters and made their purchases, they must pass priority to you, at which point, if you saved a few bolts, you just ping your Hulk 2 or 3 times and wipe their board. Every character that they fielded gets KO'd, and you have an empty board just waiting to be attacked into on your turn. And keep in mind, they cannot get around this passing priority and this strategy of yours. And in most cases, they can't stop you from doing it either unless they blank Hulk somehow, which wasn't in the early game, or they steal your energy, which didn't enter until Elf Thief. Those are some things nowadays that you could do to stop this, but when it was around, there was really just very little to do against it. Outside of removing the Hulk by pinging it out yourself, or polymorphing him out, or running your own Hulk, he just kind of did his thing and you had to deal with it. Combine him with the Blue Eyes White Dragon Global and Professor X, and you could have a 6-drop on turn 2 that does all of that we just talked about almost every time you played. It's pretty amazing and very much deserving of a spot in the Hall of Fame. So there you have it. We now have 6 cards in the official, unofficial Dice Masters Hall of Fame. What cards need to be added next? Which ones have we forgotten or have just not made the cut up until this point? I know there are several that have been mentioned. I don't want to prime the vote too much, so I won't mention any cards by name, but I think there are definitely some very deserving cards that could make the cut if you guys think so. So let me know in the comments below. Let me know on the Facebook page. Anywhere you want to tell me what cards need to go in, just let me know and I will tally all of those up. We'll let this video percolate for a little bit, let you guys talk about it in the comments section, and then in another week or so we'll post another one of these videos. As always, thanks for watching.